Hey there, and welcome back. I'm so excited for this episode. I first met Robin a while ago whenever she came into Billy Harrigan's Harrigan Hive and gave us a talk all about vitamin D, and my mind was blown. And so I was like, I have to have her back so that she can talk to us specifically about this. And this conversation is so rich. It has so much information. Honestly, there's still a lot in here that I have to research and unpack and so again, I'm like, take this with always do your own research, always make your own conclusions. But again, the information that she gives us is so important, so good for us to at least explore and look into. Whatever your views are, it's always important to look at both sides. So without further ado, I really hope that you enjoy this episode. I would love to hear what you think, and looking forward to seeing you on the next one. So I am here today with Robin. I'm super excited for this conversation. I first heard about her and her work in another community that I'm in, and I had never heard anybody talk about it, never talk about vitamin D in quite this way, so I'm really excited about it. So Robin, if you can give us a little information about yourself, I'd love to hear a little bit more about who you are, how you got into this, all the details.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Brigid, for having me. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be a guest for a change. So it's so relaxing. I got started in the medical industrial complex, as they call it. Now it's almost 30 years ago. Started in psychiatric hospitals and working with mentally ill adults, and thought that system was broken, but the normal healthcare, that's where we make a difference. That's where we really help people. And boy, was I wrong. And then I thought, okay, well, I believe the whole myth that Rockefeller took over the medical system in the 1920s, and he took out all the good stuff, the herbs and the supplements and the vitamins, and hid that secret knowledge from us. So I went hard into that side, the functional medicine side. And lo and behold, had some dramatic, horrific side effects from my encounters with the functional medicine, from chiropractors selling vitamins and supplements to giving my son vitamin D3 where he broke his shoulder from a short fall at a skate park at 9 years old. And that's what started the whole rabbit hole of what vitamin D3 actually is, cholecalciferol. It kills rats, cats, mice, dogs. It would kill you if you took the dose dependent, but the mechanism of action is what I was really interested in. And so that is where I went hard into the research. And once I found out what I found out, I started posting it on all of the influencers who were recommending it, thinking they would, I really legitimately thought they'd be like, thank you so much, Robin. We really appreciate you bringing this information. We had no idea. Instead, I was viciously attacked. My person was viciously attacked, not the research that I was bringing forward. And that's a classic logical fallacy, attack me and call me a narcissist, telling me, I had childhood trauma, but had nothing to do with the research. So then I went even harder. So then I'm like, okay, there's something going on here that's very nefarious, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And boy, did I. And I am still uncovering more and more and more. That puts me kind of like with a bullseye on my back, but it's the reason I'm so attacked is because I'm not saying, hey, out of the University of Pennsylvania came this study that tells you how great this vitamin or the supplement is, or how awful it is, because that's what's controlled by the industry. I'm just saying, hey, this is what this substance is. This is how it's made. This is the mechanism of action. And you can't fight that. That's why I am so dangerous to the industry.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So how old is your son now?
He's 19.
Okay, so this was 10-ish years ago then that this all started?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I know a lot of us, or a lot of people, I forget the exact percentage, but a lot of people in the U.S. are supposedly vitamin D deficient. And so we're all told take vitamin D. And so I guess high level, and we can get into specifics, high level, why is it that vitamin D supplements are harmful? I know you mentioned like the dogs
Mm-hmm.
um, and like those studies, but yeah, if you can speak to that a little bit.
Sure. So we kind of have to go back to the beginning. There is no such thing as vitamin D. There's not like vitamin D lurking in somewhere in the sun ray coming and touching your skin. And I mean, you really have to think about that. Could they take lichen and make it into something that you're getting from the sun's rays? It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it, but there is no such thing as vitamin D. The industry, meaning the pharmaceutical industry, made it up.
Mm-hmm.
They made it up because they found a drug, a chemical, a corticosteroid hormone that they can give to someone to change a lab value. But they're in control of the lab value, and they're in control of what it means to raise it or lower it. So when they say you're deficient in vitamin D, they're not testing for anything of substance, of anything of merit. So you can't be low in vitamin D and have anything meaningful as part of the study.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not testing for your sunshine health. They're not testing for your bone health. They're testing a number, a corticosteroid hormone value. It's an intermediary molecule that everyone is low in, because it doesn't make sense that everyone has deficient vitamin D levels, from the guy that goes surfing every day and out in the sun and has a nice tan to the bedridden woman. How can they possibly have the same D levels? Oh, it's because the industry got started in the 70s. They're a multi-billion-dollar industry. They have lobbyists in DC, and they found a way to manipulate lab values, which we can see. People are easily able to see it with the PCR test and the convid, but they can't see it's the same mechanism of action with vitamin D. So now we're going to look at your original question: what does vitamin D do inside the body? What's the mechanism of action? When you take a rat poison, and when I say rat poison, it's the main ingredient of decon rat poison, cholecalciferol. You can look at cholecalciferol in your vitamins. There's no difference, and there's no mechanism of action that's different when your dog consumes it, or when your puppy consumes it, or the rat that consumes it and dies. It pulls calcium and minerals into the digestive tract, into the body, to compensate for the poison that you just took. If you do that with a smaller dose, it's not going to be a big deal the first few times, and you're going to feel great, because not only do you have all those minerals circulating through your body, but you've taken a steroid. So I can give you a glucocorticoid, I can give you a steroid. You're going to feel great for a couple, 3 days, maybe a couple weeks. And then it's going to start robbing your body in significant ways. So if you take that for 10 years and you're pulling minerals from your bones every single morning or every night that you take it, you're going to start winding up with porous bones, bone density loss. What's all that calcium and minerals doing inside the body? It's calcifying your body. So you're stiffening your blood vessels. It's depositing that calcium in the blood vessels. They could call that hardening of the arteries. Stiff blood vessels have a difficult time moving open and closed as they need to, for compensatory mechanisms for blood pressure, for kidney pressure. That calcification goes everywhere. So if it goes into the glomerular capsules of the kidneys, it's going to calcify those. If those little pieces start to break off, which they will, they're stiff, they call that kidney stones. But again, they're never looking at the original root cause, which would be the vitamin D3 or D2. Same. They're pretty much the same thing.
That's so interesting. Okay. So I guess maybe we should back up for those people who don't know exactly what vitamin D is, because you said it's not like truly a vitamin. It's coming from like the sun's rays.
Right.
So yeah, can you maybe simplify what is
Sure.
vitamin D exactly then?
So with all vitamins, the pharmaceutical industry made it all up. It's the same as a virus. They don't exist. So you're like, but wait, what am I taking in this pill? They're taking, so let's say really simple, we'll do vitamin C. We can do it with vitamin D, but it's a little more complicated. When you take an orange, there's no specific like vitamin C lurking in there. You have an orange, you have the juice, you have the pith, you have the peel, but there's no secret magic ingredient of that orange that you need to take. What they do is it's a sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors. They tell you that that's the active ingredient to the orange. That's all you need out of the orange. And they can make it by saying, okay, here's a compound in the orange. There's 500,000 compounds. They pick one. And with a chemistry experiment, they make ascorbic acid. So they'll take high fructose corn syrup, GMO, high fructose corn syrup, and they mix it with hydrochloric acid. Voila, there's your vitamin C. So that is not what is in an orange. That's the same exact thing that's happening with vitamin D. There's no vitamin D that's being activated when the sunlight hits your skin. They pick one of the hormones that's created of the 36 different hormones created synergistically, simultaneously when that sunlight hits my skin. That's the medicine. There is no substitute for sunlight. I mean, we really need to start thinking in terms of logic and critical thinking. Can I convert sun rays into a conveniently swallowable pill? Right? So no. So what they're saying is there's a hormone produced when the sunlight hits your skin. It's a corticosteroid hormone that's shuttled through the body with cholesterol. We're going to manufacture that in a lab, and they can show you that this hormone is created when you take it, but it's also a poison. You can't hack the sunlight. You can't hack an orange. You can't eat the orange and get out in the sun. It's free, but they can't monetize that.
Yeah, so basically, again, just to kind of break it down for those who might not be aware, vitamin D is just a hormone that is produced in our bodies, very much simplifying it, in our bodies after seeing the sun. So there's something that the sun does that prompts our body to create this hormone that is called vitamin D.
Yes, but you got to really make sure, though, that it's going with 36 different other reactions, and that's what creates the health within the body, not just picking one. Like I could pick one of the 36, a different one, and it's going to be the same thing. The body doesn't understand it.
Yep. Okay. But again, just like very simplifying, it's not truly a vitamin.
Right.
It's a hormone that's produced when you're out in the sun. Again, very much simplified.
Yes.
I know that
it's very simplified too, but again, there is no vitamin. There is no such thing as a vitamin. So
it's kind of like vitamin K, where it's like it's not really a vitamin.
None of them are vitamins. Yeah. And then you can say, well, I'm taking whole foods vitamins to get my vitamin C or my vitamin B12. No, there's no vitamins lurking in the food.
Yeah.
Period. So you could take a dried up, desiccated amount of broccoli and say that you're taking a whole food vitamin, but you're not. You're just taking a tiny little dried piece of broccoli that's not going to benefit your health in any way, shape, or form.
Yep. Okay. So again, hopefully that helps clear things up for people who it's actually a hormone that's being produced. Well,
right.
Again,
a corticosteroid hormone. And if you're also taking a statin drug that's lowered your cholesterol, you're not moving anything through the body. Cholesterol is how things move and are shuttled around through the body.
Yes. Okay. So actually that brings me to a question that when, like I have this book over here by Sarah Thompson. Are you familiar with her? She's what is she for sure? I believe it's an acupuncturist, but she does a lot of like functional medicine with pregnancy and birth. And so she, in her book, she gives like different lab values for pregnant and postpartum women, because so many times pregnant and postpartum women get blood work and then they're compared to the same lab values as somebody who is not pregnant. And that's not necessarily a good thing, because pregnancy obviously changes things and we need different nutrient requirements and everything like that. But in this book here, she says that vitamin D, and she's with you with like the whole, it's not actually a vitamin thing. But she says that vitamin D is actually necessary for like proper cholesterol use and not use, but production and the way that your body uses it. So is that something that you see with like people who do have the higher cholesterol? Like I know we're just going to keep with the same terms because that's what people are familiar with.
Sure.
Like how is high cholesterol related to vitamin D?
So high cholesterol is beneficial to the body. The body doesn't produce anything that is negative inside the body. There's no such thing as bad cholesterol the body's making. There's no LDL is allegedly the bad one. HDL is a good one. It's simply something that your body needs. If you don't get enough in the food, your body will do a metabolic cost and it will make it. The body will make a corticosteroid hormone that you call vitamin D3. If you live in a cave and never see the sun, your body will produce it, provided you're eating enough cholesterol or your body has enough cholesterol. But now you're into a 10x problem if you've taken a statin or you believe the rhetoric and like you need to have low cholesterol.
Okay. And so if people are taking a statin, then what should they do if their vitamin D levels are quote like low and their first like physician or whoever they see tells them like definitely need to take that vitamin D?
So they're testing the wrong lab value. They're testing 2,5-D, which is an intermediary molecule. The only reason they test it is because you'll be low and they can manipulate it with vitamin D3, which is a corticosteroid hormone. So that's the smoke and mirrors. You're not low in vitamin D3.
Okay.
Unless they test the active form, which is 1,2,5-D. They can do that on a lab. Your functional medicine doctor can do it. They don't want to because then they can't sell you $1,000 worth of supplements every month. But if they did and you were low, taking rat poison is not going to rectify the reason you're low. There's something wrong with your kidneys or your renal system. So you have a damage from something else, meaning you're not able to produce that corticosteroid hormone. Maybe you've taken statins in the past. Maybe there's been some kidney damage because you've taken blood pressure medications, which is another whole topic on that and how damaging that is. But they're in control of the lab values. They're in control of the interpretation. So I can say, look, Brigid, you're low in vitamin D3. And you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I am. That's the first lie. You're not. And they don't understand that. They don't understand it. They're testing an intermediary molecule. Maybe the ones that do, they can test the active form. And then they're like, oh, well, I guess you're not low. So you're fine. And I lost a customer.
Yeah. So with that intermediary molecule, is there like a certain threshold that your body needs? And that's how they came up with that number? Or is it truly just like they took the law of averages and
they took something they can manipulate? That's all they're looking for when they're testing your blood. And then they call it this, and then they can manipulate it with a chemical. That's all it is. That's their wet dream inside the pharmaceutical industry, because they can take cholesterol and they can say, look, your HDL is too low, your LDL is too high, and they give you a drug and it changes it to the numbers. They're like, look, you're healthy. Meanwhile, your health has deteriorated. But they can tell you, look, you're better because your D levels are now within their normal range. No, it has nothing to do with your sunshine health, has nothing to do with your bone health, all the things they tell you need the D3 for, or your depression.
Yeah. So let's actually talk about that. So how does quote like how does vitamin D in general, let's just say, how does it affect somebody's mood, like energy, stress?
Sunlight. What we'll talk about
up?
is sunlight. Sunlight has the 36 different hormonal reactions. So one of those they're calling D3, but we need the 36 simultaneously happening when that sunlight hits my skin. So the sunlight hits my eyes, clears my eyes, so I don't need glasses, I don't need reading glasses. It's hitting my skin, is creating all of those different hormonal reactions that are now going to be shuttled throughout my body with adequate cholesterol and adequate myelination. If we're constantly drinking things like alcohol, or people that drink turpentine, or people that use DMSO, you're demyelinating your system. So that sunlight might not be able to create the hormones and get to the parts of the body that need it because you have effectively destroyed the system. But if it's all working as planned, you go out in the sunlight, your body can store the hormones in the fat. So if you live in far northern climates, like I get this all the time in Canada, where we don't see the sun all winter, your body's making it, or it has used the stored hormones. But if you're going out with sunscreen, if you're going out with sunglasses, it's not going to store it. You can get adequate vitamin D in as little as 5 minutes with just your face and palms exposed to the sun when it's out in the middle of winter.
Mm.
So getting adequate sunlight in the summer months is essential, making sure you're getting it when it's not raining through chemtrails, and doing your sun gazing when it's not going through chemtrails. So when the sun is out, I mean, I don't care what time it is, and this is not advice. I'm not giving this as advice for anyone to do, but I go and look at the sun directly. If it's gone through, it's clear blue skies, I will look at it whatever time of day, and I have perfect eyesight.
Yeah, that's so interesting because just a little personal here. I have really terrible eyesight, like really terrible. And like if I take my glasses off, I can hardly see anything. And I used to wear contacts, which I stopped. And
Good.
then I used to have like years ago, used to have like the transition glasses, which I stopped. But like, unfortunately, I literally need glasses in order to see. And so, but what I started doing a couple of years ago, I forget where I saw this, but basically, yeah, going out, looking up at the sun, it's uncomfortable at first, especially because
Yeah.
like you have light eyes, I have light eyes.
Yeah.
So it's like hard sometimes. And then also doing like those different eye exercises of like look up, like really like work those eye muscles. And
You
what's
need
so
to.
interesting is that I was able to get, again, it's not like my eyes are cured or anything, but I was able to actually reduce my prescription by a half, whatever, I don't know what they're called. So
Yeah.
it went from like 475 to like 425, which is huge in
That's
glasses.
huge.
And
No,
so,
that's huge.
and then the
And
other thing, sorry, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, and glasses make those muscles lazy.
Yeah.
So the more, and it blocks the sun. Even if they're clear glasses and you're going outside in the sun, it's blocking it. Or you try to watch the sunrise through a windshield because you're too cold. It's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other thing too, our kids go to an eye doctor, and it's so interesting. Every time he's always just like, get your kids outside, have them look at the sun. And like, this is an eye
Wow.
doctor saying this. And he's like, because I see more and more kids nowadays that are younger and younger needing glasses because
because they're
all
staring
the
at the
time.
screen.
Yeah.
They're not
And
inside.
yeah, so I just wanted to share that because an eye doctor is literally telling us like he has never ever told us to put on sunglasses ever.
Oh.
Not once. Which is
Well,
like
hopefully he stays in business.
yes, for sure. All right. So let me see here what I wanted to ask.
That really, so we can get lost in the minutia. Like Jim Stevenson Jr. is, if you want pathophysiology and you want proof of, if there's scientists out there and there's professors, MDs, and you want actual proof of the pathophysiology and what it's doing inside the body, check out Jim Stevenson Jr. And it's called Secosteroid Hormone Facebook group. He banned me because I wrote an article where I didn't include him and I wrote it with somebody else, and I don't know why he got upset about that. But anyway, he was a good friend. I've done a couple podcasts with him, but he's good for those that are all locked up in their head and they're all locked up in studies.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm showing you, hey, you guys, this is the mechanism of action in the body. It's a rat poison and it is a poison to you, and it will do the same thing. Look at Purdue University and what happens if your dog consumes vitamin D3.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. What happens if your dog consumes D3?
There is no antidote. It pulls calcium from the bones. It calcifies the liver. It calcifies the different parts of the internal organs. There's nothing you can do except for, help the dog if he can eat,
Like
keep
get
eating or
comfortable.
drinking. But yeah. to see if he can weather the storm or his body can decalcify it after a while.
So with that, then why would they add in, for some vitamin Ds, why do they add in K2? Is that because it helps, like vitamin D, or I'm sorry, K2 is supposed to help with bone health?
So this is the smoking gun. The reason they put K2 in there is there's all this free floating calcium in the bloodstream, which causes heart arrhythmias. Not just bone density loss, but that's what causes heart arrhythmias. Where does all that calcium come from, Brigid?
I'm assuming your bones.
Your bones, your teeth, your joints, anywhere it can. That's the question. I did a podcast with Doc Malek, and I said, hey, just ask yourself the question, where's all this calcium coming from?
Okay.
That you need to take the K2. The K2 is supposed to put that calcium back into the cells and the bones, which it doesn't. That's not how it works. You don't put calcium into bones. You have osteoblasts that make bones. You can make it from plants. You can make it from various proteins, animal proteins. But no, you can't make it from eating calcium or taking K2.
Okay. That's so interesting. Yeah, and I always find it not odd. I find it interesting how some vitamin Ds have K2 in it and then others don't. And it's like, if they know, that's one other topic. Okay.
But that's the beautiful smoking gun to the whole industry.
Yeah.
Because you're saying the vitamin D3, the corticosteroid hormone, is pulling calcium and minerals from my bones. So you do that over a decade, you're going to have bone density loss. You're going to wind up with joint replacements, which is what they want. That's the industry. They don't care. Like, you're going to spend a few bucks on the D3 initially. That's fine. But they're looking for the 10x, the 100x in their investment, because then in 10 years or 15 years, you're going to need joint replacements. You're going to have heart arrhythmias. You're going to go in for, a heart ablation and all these things. You're going to go in for a triple bypass because all your joints or not, your blood vessels and your valves are stiff.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, it just like everything else with our body, like it's all totally connected. Like
everything.
But it's hard. It can be hard sometimes if you're like, oh, I just need to get more vitamin D. Like that's the focus.
That's what they want, again, because then there's the industry. I'm not worth anything if I'm going to go lay naked out on my porch and get sunlight and eat a whole orange, including the peel.
Yep, for sure. Okay, and so I'm really curious, again, kind of going back a little bit. You said that you got all into this whenever your son broke his arm, was it?
His shoulder.
His shoulder, okay. And how do you go from a broken shoulder to like deep diving into vitamin D?
So that's exactly how it happened. I was shocked. I'm like, my son, my perfect young green bones, if you know what those are, like they're bendy because they're still growing. Yeah. How did he break his shoulder like a little old lady? So I went on all the message boards, and somebody on one of them asked me if I was supplementing with D3, and I was proud to say, you bet I am. I got the good stuff in lanolin with the K2. I didn't know what I was talking about, though. I thought I did because I heard influencers recommending it, like Amanda Vollmer. And I was like, I got the good stuff with lanolin and K2. And they're like, well, you might want to look into it. It's rat poison. And I literally got into my truck, drove to Ace Hardware, went to the poison station and got a bag of decon, and I almost got sick when I saw it said cholecalciferol, which is D3. I was like, oh my God, I gave my son rat poison after, all of the issues with vaccine injury and almost losing him when he was an infant. I'm vowing to never, ever poison my son again and never allow him, the medical industrial complex, to get him. And I did. And so that was when I was like, okay, now my back is up. Now I'm going full throttle. I'm coming in hot, and I'm not going to quit until this is exposed to the entire planet.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm glad that you did it. I'm not glad that he hurt his shoulder, but I mean,
Right.
it's obviously been used for such good. Okay. So let's kind of go into the nitty gritty a little bit of the practicalities of these things. So you just told us that the only way to get vitamin D is either through the sun. Again, we say vitamin D. We'll just stick with that. Is through the sun or through our foods, right? So what sort of foods should be like, because I live north of Pittsburgh where winters are like long and dark. And we live on a farm, so we're outside every day anyways, but so many people aren't. And so what should people like me who live in these areas where we don't have these nice long winters where we don't have these sunny winters, what should we be focusing on? Obviously still wanting to go outside because that's super important, but also what sort of foods can we help to supplement?
You want to make sure that it's sunlight and sunlight and sunlight, because that is the absolute only way you're going to get the energy that you need from the sun. We're like plants. We don't photosynthesize, but we have to have the sunlight for energy and all of the different factors in our body that are happening simultaneously. So when I lived in Bellingham, Washington, and it would be rainy for 6 to 8 months out of the year, I would consider it a tax of living in the area, and I would book a trip to Hawaii or Mexico or some sunny location January and February when I needed it. Like I would kind of feel like all warm and stuggly in the fall and winter months, and then right when it hit the end of January, I was like, I need this. I need the sun. I need it now. And so that's how I made it through before I was trying the lights and, eating things and cod liver oil and all that stuff. It doesn't work. You need the sunlight. So there is no substitute for the sunlight. The solution, though, also is to get outside in the sun in the winter months. Even though you don't see the sun, it might be overcast, you're still getting, the sun rays are still coming through. So making sure to get outside every single day, that will help. And if you can afford it, to book a trip, or when it is in the summer months, make sure that you're outside without sunscreen, without glasses over your eyes, and your body will store it for the winter months.
That's so interesting. So I totally feel that, where it's like end of January, and you go into February, it's like, oh my goodness, like, can it just be warm, but then also sunny? And so many people think that they have, what is it, like seasonal
affective disorder.
And I wonder, like, is that actually your body's way of saying we need sun?
Yes.
We need to get outside.
Yes. And we are so used to ignoring the symptoms and trying to mask the symptoms. It's like, oh, we'll do this thing and do that thing, take some Prozac and stand in front of some red lights, or go to the biohacking, or do an ice bath. No, there is no substitute for the sun. There never will be. You got to get outside in the sun.
Yeah. So what should somebody do if it's like truly freezing outside? And I'm just thinking, like, I have a little one asleep here on my lap. He does not, he will now because he's older, but over the past 2 winters, like, he was too little to really enjoy being outside for an extended period of time. So, like, we obviously took him outside, but I know a lot of parents who wouldn't necessarily do that. So what should somebody do if they do live in these colder areas and they don't want to take their kids outside?
I mean, you got to take them outside. You got to bundle them up. And again, even if just their little face is exposed and they got the little puffy on, and have their little hands, put their little hands up to the sun, it doesn't have to be more than 10 minutes. You don't have to, like, get out there, stay out there for 8 hours and force them into the cold. But get them outside every single day. Usually the sun will poke through, like when I was in Bellingham, it would usually poke through at some point during the day. When it does, get yourself outside and get those sun rays on you. Yeah,
it almost makes me think, I don't know if you've seen the videos of, like, the little kids in, like, the Nordic countries where they're out on the little stroller thing and they're sleeping outside.
Exactly.
all bundled up except for their face.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's fine. We're resilient. We're meant to adapt to the climates that we're in. So they're
Hmm.
they're adaptable. But if you don't take them out at all and it's 80 degrees inside your house and then you take them out for, a couple minutes, they're going to scream and cry because they're
Yeah.
not acclimated to it.
Yep, for sure. For sure. So aside from the sunlight though, because that's obviously primary, are there any foods or anything that we can do or to like how to cook them differently that can help our bodies to synthesize this hormone that we need?
So to help you shuttle around the sunlight and all the different hormones that you're creating when you're out in the sun, you want to make sure you have adequate nutrition. So if it grew out of the ground, fell out of a tree, or walked around, you can eat it. That, adequate fat levels, but not people overdo it. And they're now eating tallow and raw butter and things like it's going out of style. Consider Mother Nature is the blueprint. So would you find just loads of olive oil or butters or all of these things? No, you'd have a little bit of it. So think of yourself as Brigid, the wild human. What would I be foraging in this area? What would I be consuming if I had a clan here? And that's how you eat. But you're not going to be getting sunlight from food in the same way. Like I
Yeah.
can eat an orange right off the tree. That is converted sunlight. It's converted it
Mhm.
into this wonderful fruit that's meant for me to eat. That's a way to keep yourself healthy, but there is no way to eat foods that contain the same benefits of
From the
getting the
sun.
sunlight.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense for sure.
And there is no benefit to using sunscreen and blocking the sun. That's what causes the cancers, is
Okay.
blocking the sun, or wearing, women wear it's a mineral sunscreen with zinc. It's like, it's just as bad. And you're
Mm,
radiating, it's radiation. So you're radiating your skin with those chemicals on it. And that will never benefit anyone.
interesting. Interesting. So this is somewhat of a side note. I guess it's related. So my mom was actually a dermatologist. And so I've had to do a lot of kind of unlearning
Deprogramming.
that stuff. Because like we grew up wearing the like Aveeno sunscreen. If it had to be at least 50 plus like SPF, otherwise
Oh
it
yeah.
wasn't really going to do much. And if we got to like the 80 or 100, like that was even better. And so now whenever I hear stuff like this, like logically I understand it, but my body still sometimes is like no,
I know.
like
I know.
that's not
Yeah.
right. Because it is like so ingrained in us, not even just from like my mom's profession, but I think just everywhere we go, like in the summer, it's like, oh, do you have
Yeah.
your sunscreen on? Like,
Yep.
oh, do you have your rash guard? Like all these different things. And
Oh yeah. No, I had a woman when I was hiking in our local park over here. She's like, make sure to wear your sunscreen. And I'm like, don't tell me to wear toxic sunscreen.
I know it's so interesting.
Just like, yeah, no, everyone's like, stay safe out there, wear your sunscreen, make sure you have your glasses on and a hat. Like that is what is causing cancer.
Mm, yeah.
That is what is causing problems. That you are blocking one of the main sources of health and wellness
Well,
known to man.
and I think it's interesting too how actually being in the sun is a great way to see what your internal system is doing and is it
Right.
healthy or not. Because if you have that whole food um, diet,
Yeah.
like your cells are going to be able to take in that sunlight and convert it into melanin,
Melanin.
and it's not going to burn. Versus if
Well,
you
yeah, and
have
it's
a
not
terrible
just
diet,
that. It's if you haven't blocked the
yeah,
sun from getting
your
into your
eyes don't,
eyes with the glasses
yeah,
and
your body
sunglasses,
doesn't turn it on.
it communicates with the lens how much to open and close the pores, how much melanin to produce to keep you in homeostasis. That's the only state your body knows. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so simple to stay there if we're not poisoning or interfering with our body. And we enter a state of fear because the industry has led us to believe the what ifs. What
Mm-hmm.
if the sun is killing me? What if the ozone layer is depleted and the sun is so much worse? Or, the freedom people are like, oh no, it's a fake sun, it's not the real sun, or all of these different things to keep us in a state of fear. That's what it's for. Instead of, just take your clothes off and go out and get some sunlight.
So what if somebody is hearing this for the first time, and they previously had been like all into the big hats, the sunglasses, like smothering themselves with sunscreen, and they're like, whoa, this all makes so much sense. Like, I need to go in the sun right now and like get this sun. Is there a way to do it so that they don't go from like 0 to 100 and totally fry their body? Like,
yes.
How do they do that?
So you want to be very cautious if you've been inside the matrix. It's basically like waking up from Neo's pod of goo and going outside for the first time. Your sun and your communication is lazy, if not completely dormant. So you want to make sure there's no glasses on your face, no hat, no chemicals. If you're wearing cream, you need to have it either be something that you would eat, like tallow and or olive oil, or something very benign, and where it came from, because most olive oil in the grocery stores is counterfeit. So you want to make sure that you know where it came from, and that's it. You want to be very, very cautious that there is no chemicals on your skin. No makeup. Women, you cannot wear makeup of any kind when going outside in the sun. And that's it. So stay out for maybe a couple minutes the first time, see how your skin does, and then you start building it up like you would go to the gym. You don't start, benching 150 pounds. You start just with the bar and you start building your muscles up. Same, reconnecting with the sunlight.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry if you just heard the horses outside.
How exciting.
All right. No, that was really helpful, because I do think that sometimes, especially whenever somebody is awakened to this whole side of things, it can be really easy to like jump in and just try to do all the things. And that sometimes can make people feel like, oh, this is too hard. This is too much. Like, it doesn't work for me because I went inside and I burned really badly.
Right. Or they'll get sick and they'll have a really hard burn and like, see, I knew I was right. But it's not, your body is miraculous. It is brilliant. It doesn't make mistakes. So you want to start communicating again with your natural mechanisms. So when you don't have sunscreen on, when you're not wearing a hat, because your hair is an extension of your spinal column, it is your nervous system, it is the brain cells on the outside. So you want to make sure that you're charging your antenna. If you don't color it and cut it, you want to make sure you're charging your antenna outside in the sunlight. And you don't want chemicals on your hair either. You can absorb D3 and all the other 36 through your hair, through your forehead. So your frontal lobe is very porous. That's why they like women to have bangs, because it covers this part. You can absorb a lot of sunlight that goes directly into that part of the brain where the pineal gland is. That is so important for sleep. If you don't see the sunlight and you don't go outside all day and you don't see the sun coming into view and leaving, then you're not going to produce the melatonin in the evening. And you can't take melatonin. It's made out of human waste, also like vitamin B12, to correct that. You need to go watch the sunrise. You need to go watch the sunset.
Yep, for sure. And what was I just going to say? Oh, and I think one other thing too that a lot of people forget is like, if every day you're going out and seeing the sun, and say you do live in a wintry place like where I live. In the winter, I'm definitely not outside for 8 hours a day. Like, I'm just not.
Yeah.
But I'm usually outside for like an hour or so feeding the animals and stuff. And then gradually I stay outside longer and longer and longer. And also at the same time, the sun is coming out longer and longer and longer. So it's like this really kind of harmonious where it's like, I'm not getting so much that it's like blasting my body, but at the same time, I'm getting what I need so that whenever it is like peak summer and I'm outside for like all day, every day, I don't burn, even though I'm pretty pale. Like, because I've grown accustomed to it, and it's not like I just went to the equator and sat outside for 12 hours during the day.
Right. But
So,
you've also allowed yourself to do it harmoniously the way
yes.
wild
Yeah,
foraging
live.
Brigid would do, right?
Yeah.
So you would more often than not, we would be inside more during the winter. It's darker, the days are much shorter. That's your window to get
Mm-hmm.
outside when it's sunny out. But we don't have to force it. Like I'm going to force myself to stay out for 4 hours. Well, if it's sunny out, it's just start to feel into that natural rhythm.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So I do a lot with the nervous system rewiring, regulation. And I believe that nervous system regulation is like a band-aid unless you've actually changed the way your body perceives different tones of
Okay.
voices, different environments, things like that. And so I would love, and I kind of spoke on this whenever I was talking about like my relearning about everything, but I'd love for you to speak a little bit about like the nervous system side of things and like this vitamin D sunlight that we've been talking about.
Well, one of the main things that we need is the coating, the myelination on
Mm-hmm.
on all of our nervous system. And so, there's a lot about nervous system regulation. And again, we're all about the band-aids. Go to the
Yes.
biohacking clinic, go in the cryo chamber, go in
Yeah.
the, ice bath, which is a major insult to our nervous system when you have to force yourself to do those things. That might be great for elite athletes that are already in that high adrenaline state, but for you and me, it's going to be an assault on our nervous
Yeah.
system.
Mm-hmm.
So we really want to make sure that we're maintaining a healthy internal environment where we're not demyelinating any parts of our body. So
Mm-hmm.
you cannot use solvents of any kind. Essential oils now are mostly carrier oils
Yeah.
and toxic chemicals. Um, Solvents like turpentine do not belong anywhere in your body. DMSO does not belong anywhere in or on your body. These will melt away over time, the myelination. And now we have problems.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter amount of therapy and tapping, or it's going to change
Yeah.
that because you've fried your nervous system. So it's
Yes.
really just getting yourself in homeostasis and then you're lock solid. And that includes the electromagnetic field around you also. You can measure your heart 8 feet outside of your body. This is your
Why?
resonance
Yeah.
around you. So you're not going to be letting in negative energy or chemtrails if you have a complete electromagnetic field. But if you're using soap on your skin anywhere, you're going to interrupt and disjoint that electromagnetic field, or using soap on your hair, using soap on your face, using soap on your hand or hand sanitizers, or taking off the sebum
Yeah.
from your skin or your hair. So it's more allowing your body to get into its natural state. So it has my sebum on my skin is a one-way valve as long as I don't
Mm-hmm.
cut it off with
Mm-hmm.
and remove it with soap and cleansers or healthy soaps or organic soaps. It doesn't matter. Soap is soap. It's going to remove the sebum layer. And now you're in trouble. You've allowed your one-way valve to be removed. So now things can get in. If you take a tap water shower, all of those chemicals can be absorbed through your newly removed sebum layer, or same with your hair, same with your scalp. We want that sebum protection. It lets out toxins and doesn't allow toxins in.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. And that's one of the big things. Like, again, I am all for some of the regulatory things that people do, like the walking outside, the putting your feet in the grass. Like, I'm all for
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Like, that's great regulation. But if your gut is a wreck, if like you're talking about your skin, if your skin's a wreck, like those regulation tools, they might help like maybe short term or a little bit, but it's not going to do much because your body's telling you in other ways like something is off. And so that's
Exactly.
huge. It's so frustrating sometimes whenever I work with somebody and they're like, I've tried this, like it's not working. I've worked with this person, and it's like, well, what are you eating? And
Yeah.
usually it's junk.
Yeah.
What's your rest look like? It's usually not there. Like, what
Yeah.
do all these basic things look like? And yeah. And so I think that reminding ourselves too of like food is such an important piece our environment is such an important piece of this, just overall health, that
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't know if, oops, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say too, what they work on when we're 0 to 7 is our belief system.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times people will speak into existence that they will manifest the delusions that they've given us. Well, I'm not even going to say it. I have fill in the blank, convid. People will say they have Lyme's disease. They will say they have HIV. They will manifest into existence the delusions that have never been proven to exist, but then they become it. They become the delusion of the psychopathic corporations and medical industrial complex. So you really want to make sure your belief is not controlled and puppeted by the system. And we can do that by our inner knowing. I don't need to do manifestations and meditations on knowing the sun is going to come up in the morning and go down in the evening.
It just happens.
Right? I know it. So I know I am in homeostasis and I'm completely protected from the psychopathic world because that's how my body operates. It only knows homeostasis. Healing is only about subtraction. What am I doing to poison my body to lead to its interference and its imbalance?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the $1 trillion empire, is for us to stop doing, stop taking the vitamins and supplements, throw them in the trash, stop going to these biohacking clinics, stop interfering with the natural order of your body.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the big things with this too, oh man, it literally just escaped my brain. What was I going to say? It was around the regulation stuff. I don't know. Maybe it'll come back. But yeah, no, that's all wonderful and such good information. It's hard though in this world. Man, it's hard. Oh, that's
It's
what
challenging. It's challenging.
Yes, it is challenging. But that's what I was going to say, is that our subconscious is so good at picking up on these things that it runs like 95% of the show. So if we hear all the time, even what I just said, like it's hard, then I'm going to believe that it's hard. And
Exactly.
I'm do whatever I need to validate that, it's like, to show myself that it's hard, or like,
exactly.
If I have this disease, then I'm going to look for all the things subconsciously. I won't even know that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That like say that this is happening. Yeah. Right. And so it's like, that's the other huge thing that a lot of people don't realize, is your brain is really good at trying to keep you in that homeostasis. And if right now your homeostasis is being told, like, I need this thing in order to live, I need this in order to succeed or whatever, whether it's like, again, I work with a lot of people in business, then you're always just going to go for that because that's what feels safe. That's what feels good. And unless you're super conscious about replacing that thought, like you just did for me, then yeah, it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what they work. That's what they work on, though. That's what they work on, because that way we had a nation of hypochondriacs.
Yeah.
When 2020 hit and everyone had long COVID this and this symptom and like, I can't breathe, and when you know that they're making it all up, it just seems so ridiculous. But to them, it's real, and you can really die from your delusion. I mean, when I worked in this, I got to see it firsthand when I worked in locked psychiatric hospitals. People believed they were pregnant, and they were 9 months pregnant, and they had fluid in their uterus, and they would sometimes even lactate for a decade.
Wow, that's wild.
Because that's the power of our belief system. And so we really want to make sure we're not contracting with the medical industrial complex and having them, the savior in the white coat, tell us about who we are and what our body is and what's going on inside our body, because they don't know.
Yeah,
they're programmed and they're indoctrinated by a system to sell you drugs and procedures.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have time for one more question, and it's the question I ask every guest, is what is the one thing that you want the discerning mother to know about?
How amazing your intuition is, how amazing your wisdom and your discernment is, and to not listen to anyone telling you what to put in your body. You don't need all of these tests. Non-ionizing radiation and ultrasound is just as damaging. You can have that communication with your body. If you're not painting your nails with paint and varnish and gluing plastic things on it, your hands can heal. They can heal any part of your body. You can communicate with any part of your body. Just to trust yourself, trust your inner knowing. It's never wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was an amazing conversation. I know it's going to bring so much new information for so many people, but it's great. And so,
Yeah.
where can people find you if they want to learn more?
I started the Shadow Band Library with Agent 131711. We were both best-selling authors on Substack and started noticing this is the last place that we're allowed to speak freely. So we started the Shadowbound Library, so you can head over there and find all my stuff and find his stuff and some other authors, some brave authors that are out there speaking the truth. And we don't have any corporate funding. We don't have affiliate links. We don't grift. We are simply providing this information, and hopefully people can hear it with an open mind and start to think for yourself and just ask yourself the question, does this make sense, and who's profiting?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I will definitely link all of the Substack and your website and everything too, because it's such good information. Wow, wasn't that just like amazing? I'm still researching and going through everything because it was so much good information. So much good information. Okay. And on that note, because it is summer, I want to invite you into the Summer of Showing Up. Okay. So this is a program that is for the woman who is tired of having other people get the opportunities that you know that God made for you. And maybe you were just a little bit too nervous or a little bit too scared to really put yourself out there. And this is not a visibility course. Okay. So this is not a social media course. This is not how to batch content. This is not how to use a content calendar or anything like that. This is about learning and actually understanding why you're scared to be seen. Again, this doesn't necessarily mean that you don't post on social or anything like that. This is why you're afraid to be your authentic self. Why are you afraid to actually show up and be yourself at the family picnic? To say that specific message that God has put inside of you, right? And not only show up in your business, but also in your personal life. So again, if you're sitting on the couch reading books to your kids, but you can't stop thinking about business or like getting back to that email or whatever, then you're not showing up well in either area, right? Because you're giving half brain space to both areas. And so again, the Summer of Showing Up is really about learning what's at the core of why you can't just focus on business or why you can't focus on personal relationships in your life, especially with your kids, your husband, things like that. Okay. And so this is for you if you feel like showing up confidently is prideful. If you believe that God wanted things to happen, he would just make it happen. That you are exhausted, and you don't really know why. Like, you're not tired, you sleep, but you just feel so exhausted. And you really want to glorify God in a way that is not about your ego, but you don't know how to do that. Okay. And the big one is that this is for you if you're ready to stop performing this like version of yourself and start showing up as the real, authentic you, the one that God made you to be. Okay. So you can find all the information in the show notes, or you can flip back to the previous episode and listen to all about it. I would love to see you in there. All right. We'll see you next time.